Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO 44 coming at you with another video. All right, so we got a trade and then some rumors, some stuff that may be happening, so we can talk about it all. Detroit Pistons are trading Caris LeVert and 2 second-round picks to the Milwaukee Bucks for Taurean Prince and Gary Harris. Pistons will create a trade exception from this deal and savings, while the Bucks acquire Caris LeVert and pick up assets. So basically, Taurean Prince and Gary Harris are on $3 million expiring contracts, and Caris LeVert is on a $14 million expiring contract. So this is the NBA's equivalent to a food fight, to be completely honest with you. You're just throwing trash back and forth. That's just is what it is. I don't think any of these people really have a future in the NBA anymore. Maybe Caris LeVert might have 1 year left, but he did not have a good showing with Detroit, from what I understand. Detroit fans are very happy to see him gone. And Gary Harris, it's just one of those situations where he was a nice role player for a while, but I think we're at the end of the road. And then Taurean Prince coming off a neck injury. You know how I felt about Taurean Prince when he was here. So I think all three of these people get waived, honestly. I think it's safe to say that none of them have a role on either of the team they've been traded to. Even though I think there's a lot of Milwaukee fans who are not really sure about Caris LeVert. They think they're getting old Caris LeVert. No, you're not. You're not. You're getting washed Caris LeVert, and it ain't any good. So plus you're not. The Milwaukee situation's a bit tricky now, because in normal situations they just bottom out and just lose 70 games. But because you get docked for that now with the flattened odds, it probably is in their best interest to keep some win now talent around. So who knows? Maybe they keep Caris LeVert around anyway, just off the strength of that. I do think that's a chance they do that, because they still got Tyler Hero on a win now timeline. You got Miles Turner on a win now timeline. So it's kind of one of those situations where it's like, yeah, we're probably going to try to, we'll try to compete, but not because we want to, just because we have to. So they'll compete, but they'll probably still lose like 60 games. I think Milwaukee's probably expected to be a very bad basketball team this year. Very, very bad. But they do have some stuff there. Nate Ament, Braden Burries, who knows? Maybe those guys have rookie of the year type years, and all of a sudden it's a competitive team in the Eastern Conference. Play-in tournament team. I don't know if that's not possible. Tyler Hero's an all-star level player. Miles Turner can still stretch the floor and block a few shots. Khalil Ware is a nice upside center. So like, if all of them are having career years at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised to see Milwaukee a competitive basketball team. But like I said, it's only because they have to be. If this were the rules that we were used to, they would be bottoming out. They wouldn't win a single game this year if they could help it. So, yeah, that's what I think. And in the Pistons, of course, you just bring in dirt cheap expiring contracts. You just waive both of them, create roster spots for yourselves, and then make a trade with the picks that you have left to bring yourself some talent, some real talent, if they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. So I'm not really sure what Detroit's doing. I'm not sure, but they have optionality. That's like the sexy word out there, since the Celtics use it about 766 times in their 46-minute press conference addressing the debacle that was the Jaylen Brown trade. I actually listened to it yesterday, and I say listened to it because the phone was literally laying on my chest while I was sleeping, and I just heard the word optionality over and over again in my dream, like literally. So yeah, that's really why that comes to mind. But overall, like I said, you feel great if you're Milwaukee, because you walk away with 2 second-round picks, and that's really what it comes down to. Those 2 contracts were attached to players that you weren't going to use on dirt cheap contracts. You take on a little extra salary; it's all expiring any damn way, and then just take two extra picks for to take on Caris and the 2 extra picks is what I'm trying to say. For Detroit, like I said, you're just bringing in some guys that are on dirt cheap contracts. You just waive, man, and enjoy the roster spots if you're doing things correctly. I really think Detroit should probably be in the mix for like DeMar DeRozan. If depending on their cap situation, they should want a high-level player like that, or take a look at maybe making a trade of some sort. I would actually be in the mix. I haven't heard anything about them being interested in this player, but they should be in the mix for Trey Murphy. Now I don't know if they can afford him. Who knows? But I'm just saying from a fit standpoint, from a situational standpoint, I think that would probably be a fantastic landing spot for Trey Murphy, because what it would do is allow for him to be, as I often say, that mainstay shooting player in their core, and that's what they need. They need that. I don't know if they're bringing back Duren. Obviously, that's a big part of probably what happened today, is in freeing up some cap space to re-sign Duren. But I think they should be considering that. They did bring in John Collins. I'm not really sure how he fits in with what they do. I just don't quite see it. For all I know, it fits in just fine, but I just don't. Not really sure. He's a limited player in the sense that he doesn't create for himself at all. Now, he can catch lobs. He can shoot corner threes. At this stage in his career, I'm not really sure what else he does, to be honest with you, because I know he doesn't put the ball on the floor. So defensively, he's okay, but he's not like some great defender. So I don't really understand that signing, to be honest with you. I thought they could have maybe been a little more creative with that. I would have liked to have seen them sign Rui, but Rui wasn't leaving LA, so it didn't matter. But it's one of them situations where Detroit, I just think that they are a team that I think took some steps back with the offseason that they've had. I do not think they're a better team right now than they were. And then they had such a bad showing in this second round against Cleveland that you would think they would want to build upon a fantastic regular season, but then make themselves a better basketball team. Man, I don't know that they have done anything of the sort. If anything, it looks like they got worse. So, if they were to make a splashy move, I don't know what their pick situation looks like, but if they were to make a splashy move, I think it would be real sexy out there in Detroit for their fan base and ultimately for their prospects of winning the East. Getting a Trey Murphy to third, that's the type of move they need to be making. So I don't know. I don't know what their circumstances are, but that's just something that came to mind. Utah, another team that I wonder about with the marketing piece, because that would be a nice piece for Detroit as well. But his contract's a bit expensive, and Utah, I'm not really sure if they are ready to pivot away from being a winner necessarily, because if you look at how Darren Peterson played in the summer league, you feel like he could be rookie of the year. So they are a team that has plenty of talent, but they don't have front court depth, and without that front court depth, I don't take them seriously this year. Now, let another draft cycle go through and they draft a nice center next year with their pick or one of their many picks, and suddenly they're back in action. But I think this is like a down year for them in a way, because they let Kessler come to my Laker team in LA. So if Kessler was still on the squad, I would say, they could potentially be your breakout team in the Western Conference, a team that could be in the bottom half of the playoff picture for certain. But without that rim protection, their center position is not serious at all. That's really what it comes to. It's not serious right now. Now they can make a trade and change that. But if they don't, they're going forward with a lot of talent in a lot of positions. But the center position is where they're really, really weak. And that's a position you can't be really, really weak in the Western Conference. So knowing that I got to pay Darren Peterson someday, it looks like Cody Williams is finally ready to step up. He's a nice player. You got Collier back there somewhere. You got so many young players that fill up all of your positions except for the center position. Would it not make some sense for the Utah Jazz to maybe move Markkanen for that piece? Or take one of the many, many first rounders that they have and go get that piece, so that they don't have to punt this season necessarily. Although it's not going to be a punt. You just understand that they're capped off at first round exit probably, because they don't have nothing serious to throw at real centers, and there's a lot of real centers in the NBA. So it's like if they want to punt the season and let these players continue to develop, it ain't going to hurt because they have so many young players that have real upside that could develop. And not only that, but you got a guy like Filipowski who really does need a bigger role than what you can offer him as currently constructed with a talented center. You remove that Kessler piece, and now you see Filipowski being able to potentially play the role that he should have been playing the whole time. This is a guy who's been great since he was drafted, and it's just stuck in the back of a depth chart, really for no reason. And if I'm Utah, I don't necessarily need to move him. I just need to be able to play him some more. You know what I mean? Jaren Jackson is not a center in my opinion, but you can get away with playing him at center. And then you got Filipowski playing the 4. You're very talented, but you're capped off. You know what I mean? You know that however this goes, you ain't going to be hoisting the trophy, whatever this looks like. And for a team that has as much talent depth as they have and pick equity as they have, I just don't know if it really makes a whole lot of sense for them to kind of stay in that no man's land even for a second. But if you're going to take a step back, I guess is what I'm trying to get to say. If you're going to take this step back this year, does it make sense to remove Markkanen from the situation? Because now at this point, Markkanen should be completely exhausted of losing seasons and could contribute to a championship situation if in the right spot. And he's on a big contract that if I'm them, I probably need not be there when it's time to pay other people. So Markkanen's career has kind of been in limbo, man. I liken it to whose career was like that? DeMar DeRozan in a way, when he was with Chicago. Zach LaVine also in Chicago and Sacramento, where they signed fantastic contracts, and because of it, they're never in winning situations. But Utah's situation is different than those teams because those teams didn't really have any hope. Utah has more than hope. They got the assets to build something great. So Markkanen may not necessarily want to bounce because he could see a path to a championship before he retires, so long as he just sticks around. But while he's making all this damn money, he's not only eating away at the development possibilities of some of their other players, but he's also eating up cap space that would allow for them to pay some of those guys. So Utah's situation is real tricky to me in the sense that losing Kessler kept them from being that team that I think they could be, at least for a year. At least for a year until they address their center position properly again. So why not move Markkanen now? Why not get rid of him now, send him to Detroit, let him compete there, get back from Detroit. The salary match nonsense that you can just sit on your books for a year, expiring contract, something like that. Whatever you can do. And then just take back a bunch of draft equity even further. Flip that draft equity if you don't want to keep it since you have so much of it, and go get that center. Maybe that makes sense, maybe it don't. It's not like they need assets in any way. It's just addition by subtraction in a way. If they're going to have this, what I consider to be a down year for Utah. I don't know. Maybe it makes no sense at all. Depending on how long Markkanen's career contract is supposed to go and how that may or may not line up with the young players that they expect to pay. But for some of these young dudes, they just don't have the minutes available to fully showcase how good they are. So eventually, you're not going to get the value for them. This is an argument that I make in the NBA or in regards to NBA conversations all the time. You can have wonderful stuff, but if you can't properly showcase it, it's losing value in your situation. You know what I mean? And that's something that if you're in the business of trying to build a champion, you probably don't want to ever let happen. So it's a situation where, like, Sensabaugh is not getting the minutes he's supposed to get. Flip is not getting the minutes he's supposed to get. Collier's not getting the minutes he's supposed to get. So when people call for those players in trade, they're not really worth what they're supposed to be worth. Or when you go to try to retain these young fellas, they're going to leave those situations, the situation they have there, to find bigger situations that allow for them to spread their wings. So that's the downside, in my opinion, of being one of these OKC, Charlotte, Utah teams that are hoarding picks. You got to really navigate this stuff very well, or else you're going to lose value on what you have on the back end. Yeah, you gain a lot of picks, but you bring yourself a bunch of high-level talent that doesn't bloom properly or doesn't stick around, or you got to watch walk anyway. It just becomes an entirely different type of headache than what most teams are experiencing. So that's really what it is, man. I just see some real fantastic starting level talent on the Utah Jazz, potentially not able to showcase themselves at all. And I think the absence of marketing would help with allowing for those guys to do that. And so if it makes sense to you guys, like it makes sense to me, you probably just think about what I'm saying. You don't necessarily put a trigger on any of this if you're Danny Ainge. You just do the homework, figure it out. You know what I mean? See what makes sense. Because when you're paying one guy $60 million or whatever to just sit there and just be okay, and then guys on rookie contracts are not developing properly, I feel like somewhere in my head, you're just losing value anyway in multiple fronts. I like rookie contracts to do heavy lifting. And then players that are on massive contracts who are attached to my win later situation are just sitting there eating up my money for no damn reason. The way I see it is, if we're not going after a championship, we're not trying to win right now, we send these big ass contracts somewhere else, take back the pick equity that would be represented in it, or even younger players or whatever that fits my situation a bit better. And then let those young players on those rookie contracts do the heavy lifting. You know what I mean? So essentially what I'm saying to Utah is, maybe it's in your best interest to consider leaning into a timeline one way or another. One way or another, lean into a timeline. Either lean into the market and win now timeline and trade some of them Laker picks for another center. Kind of redundant, really. Probably would have did better just paying Kessler, but hey, we're happy you didn't. And try to get back in the mix for being a serious team that can win right now. Because Ace is ready to go for sure. This upcoming season, I expect for him to break out. Him and Peterson are just studs. Keontae George, same thing. All three of them dudes can make multiple All-Star teams in their careers. Bryce is a fantastic scoring, big body dude that can, if given the right role, score a 30-point game in any game going forward. Williams is finally putting on the strength that we knew would take about 4 or 5 years for him to put on. He finally starting to look like he's ready to play. Filipowski, like I said, he's always been good. Collier's one of the best assist point guards in the league, really. I mean, you can count him to get assists every night, 12, 13 assists. If he gets a real role in this league, you're going to see him probably lead the league in assists, if I'm being real with y'all. So it's a lot of stuff to consider, like, in my opinion, when it comes to that team. I just don't see the roles for the young guys, man. And then I look at that marketing guy, and he's eating up all the damn cap, and it's just for no reason. It's never made any sense. But it makes even less sense now when you have so many guys. When you started marketing, it was like, yeah, we have a few kids. We got George, but like other than that, you're still accumulating talent. Now, you got all the talent. You got your cornerstones. You got your role players. You got high-level tradable assets and future picks from multiple teams. You got everything you need to build an NBA championship team right now. If Danny Ainge wants to get aggressive, he can be extremely aggressive. You talk about a team that can go after Trey Murphy III. Utah can definitely go after Trey Murphy III. They can pick him up anytime they want. And so, for me, it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Because when I look at Darren Peterson, I'm like, yo, man, this guy, he should be priority number 1 in Utah for the next 15 years, basically. And Ace should be priority number 2. Keontae priority number 3. I'm not letting any of those people leave, but they all going to have to make $300 million each. Somebody going to have to leave. You know what I mean? You see that before this thing even gets started. Utah is going to have to move some very talented people or let some very talented people walk. We see that already. We see that is not something that's hard to see. I want to tell all the Utah people, you're going to have to watch some of these kids go, man. You can't keep them all. You can't pay for them all. They're too talented to make minimal money. They're just not going to be able to. You can have all their bird rights. It still ain't going to matter. It ain't going to matter. You still aren't going to have enough money to pay all these people. So enjoy them now, which is another reason why it may make sense for Utah to consider bringing them something that could potentially allow them to be contenders right now. Why you got them all on rookie contracts, why you got them all together, because they're hyper talented, all of them. And if you give them the right piece, something special could happen. Something special could happen right now, before it's time to pay these people. So, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I'd imagine Danny Ainge knows what he's doing. He's very good at this. But I see an opportunity for the Utah Jazz to literally build something that could potentially compete for a championship this season, if they really want to do it. They got the assets. They can do it. So there's no reason for them, with all due respect, there's no reason for them to have my guy Jackson Hayes, Yusef Nurkic as your center depth. That's just, what are you doing? Seriously, that don't even need to be the case. Y'all too rich over there for that. y'all got way too many assets to even let that be a thing. So that's what I want to say there. And there's many teams that'll be ready to take a pick from you. But you could go. I mean, honestly, y'all can go get a Khalil Ware. Send a pick over to Milwaukee because they may want to move on from Khalil for whatever their set of reasons. You could take Khalil Ware from them. They ain't gonna cost nothing but a first round pick. And whatever salary match, they're in the business of resetting everything. I'm not saying he's the answer at center, but to improve your center depth, give Jaren Jackson some rim protection and some extra rebounded help, for which he's going to need a little bit of. I just don't understand why Utah would allow themselves to be so deficient at one position and then be so souped up at every other position while simultaneously paying marketing max dollars. That's just I don't understand it. It blows my mind. So anyway, that's what I had to say, man. I didn't want to turn this into a complete Utah video, but they are extremely intriguing right now to me. And maybe people see it differently. Maybe people think they can win with such high-level talent playing small ball. But this is the land of Wemby and Jokic. Kessler's over here with us now. You really do need rim protection. Gobert is still out there. Sengun is still out there. And if you run into the Eastern Conference, you got players to deal with over there. Obviously with San Antonio, not only Wemby, but Reed, Quaintance when he gets healthy. OKC, obviously Mara now, Holmgren, and the other H dude. I mean, it's so many different teams with size that if you're a jump shooting team without center depth, you can have all the talent in the world. You're probably not going to win a series against all of those teams. I just don't think it's possible. So that's really what I want to say. Utah needs to adjust their center position. They got to trade Collier and a first-round pick for a center. That's really, really exciting. You could do that. That ain't going to hurt you at all. Collier don't need to be on your team anymore any damn way. He's too damn talented to be in the role that he's expected to play now behind Peterson and George for the rest of his career. That just don't make no damn sense. He's too good for that. So, yeah, these are the things that are coming to mind, man. Utah's got a lot of talent, and I think a lot of those pieces fit with one another, but some of them just you're gonna have to let walk, and there's no sense in even letting that happen. So condense, trade 2 for 1s, trade 2 for picks, that kind of thing. Condense. Make some sense of all that, Danny. That's pretty much what I gotta say, man. And then hopefully Detroit, if this can go full circle, can capitalize by taking marketing off of their hands, because that's really what all of this was supposed to be leading to. Is Detroit finding a way to get that pure shooter from somewhere. And since the Pelicans aren't serious about really any damn thing at all, Utah, on the other hand, should be open for business if they're anticipating what it is that ultimately is coming. So that's pretty much what I got to say. My name is BDO44. I thank y'all for watching.